Good morning, students. How are you? Happy Thursday. I'm going to help you with Chapter 3 study guide for the Great Gatsby today. So if you guys will get out your study guide and please answer these questions. I am going to post something in Google Classroom for you to respond to after you finish your study guide to have your attendance count for the day. Please make sure every day you log on to Google Classroom. That is what we are utilizing for checking of your work. After you submit the assignment for the day, that counts for your attendance, and also just making sure that you're logging in to utilize for communication. I am sending a lot of text messages via Remind 101. If you're not signed up for that, I will put the link information in Google Classroom as well. Just an easy way for you to be able to text me really quick, and I can get back to you right away. So far, you guys are doing pretty good just with the got to make sure we log on every day. It's a learning curve for everyone, so let's just be patient and we'll do the best we can. I'm going to update the grade book tonight for you, so tomorrow you can see all the stuff that you're doing, and if there's any questions about anything, just email me or text me and let me know, and we'll get it straightened out. I appreciate your patience. All right, here we go. Chapter 3, Great Gatsby! Whoa! All right, first of all, how about quick review Chapter 1 and 2. So Chapter 1, we learn about this guy, of course, Jay Gatsby, and he lives in West Egg. He is the neighbor of Nick. We know that West Egg is like the less fashionable of the two, but Gatsby's house is a huge, 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 enormous mansion, and he throws these crazy, lavish parties that we learn all about in Chapter 3. In Chapter 1, he's just kind of like this myth, if you will. In Chapter 2, we learn a lot more about Tom Buchanan. And really more about kind of the background story, if you will, of some of these characters. This is where we really get to see a lot of characterization built up from F. Scott Fitzgerald. We learn that Tom has a mistress, Myrtle. We learn about Myrtle and her husband, George. They, of course, live in the Valley of Ashes. And again, that is our industrialized portion that's represented of America, the working class man. But please know that the Valley of Ashes, where it is located, it connects East Egg and West Egg to New York City. So you have to travel from East Egg through West Egg, through the Valley of Ashes to get to New York City. And if you think about the people from East and West Egg, they come from money, opulence, wealth. East Egg is our old money, Tom Buchanan. West Egg is our new money, Jay Gatsby, perhaps acquired illegally or corruptly, traveling through the Valley of Ashes to New York City. It doesn't matter, though, if you got your money from old money or new money, and that is where Chapter 2 is important, because we see Tom Buchanan coming from this old money, generational money. I guess we're supposed to expect more from him. He's from Yale, and he plays polo, and he's of that secret society. But what do we see him doing in Chapter 2? Picking up Myrtle from a gas station in the Valley of Ashes, heading to Manhattan where he has a secret apartment, and having an affair. And then at the end of that whole party in Chapter 2, what does Tom do? He breaks Myrtle's nose. And let's talk about the irony of that. Why? Because Myrtle's going, Daisy, Daisy, Daisy. She was making fun of Tom's wife. Okay, so we hopefully understand the absurdity of that situation. Tom is not a good guy. All right, he's a brute of a man, as he is described to us many times throughout the novel. And that is very apparent at the end of Chapter 2. Let's notice Nick in that chapter. Okay, remember we were told that he was taught to reserve all judgments. So I'm wondering if Roxy want to come up. All right, hold on, we got to pause one quick second. Roxy wants to come up on the couch. Come here, Rox. Nope, okay. Nope, she really wants a snack. I'm not giving that to her. Okay, all right, so back to this whole thing. So Nick, he just sits there and observes like the whole party of what's going on, and I think the poor guy doesn't know what to make of it. At the end of Chapter 2, he's like waiting for the train to get back to West Egg, and just like, what the heck just happened in my life? We're supposed to pick up on the fact that these are very careless people, blatant disregard for human life, humanity, and even dogs. Myrtle wants to get a dog and put it in the apartment, and they don't even live there. Who's going to take care of that poor dog when no one is there? They just go there for their little fun and their affairs, and horrible people, horrible people. chapter 2, another thing I needed you to notice, and again in chapter 3, as you finish reading it today and answering the study guide, the utilization of automobiles in the book. Remember, 1920s, roaring 20s. We have the Model T and Ford. And cars are a sign and a symbol of wealth. Okay, so notice the cars that these guys are using and driving. It's not just, some Model T. We have Gatsby has a Rolls Royce, and Tom is talking about selling a car with George Wilson, and cars are definitely a symbol and a sign of a person's social status. So please notice that throughout the novel, and especially in chapter 3 as you're working through. All right, study guide, study guide, study guide. Here we go. First question. Describe Gatsby's wealth with some of the things that represent his wealth. We want to take a look at page 43 and 44 in the novel for this. This is where it's being described about Gatsby's party, and he's getting set up for the party. We notice Nick watching different caterers and gardeners entering into Gatsby's estate, and they come throughout the week. And on Friday, he notices that they have things like citrus being brought in. There are oranges and lemons that are being brought in on Friday, and they're juiced all weekend. And on Monday, they're being brought out with just the skins and the pulps. On page 44, Nick notices guests diving from the tower of his raft, his beach, his 2 motorboats, his Rolls Royce. He talks about 8 servants, an extra gardener. Every Friday, 5 crates of oranges and lemons arrived from a fruiter in New York. Every Monday, these same oranges and lemons left his back door. Remember, this is just after the Great Depression, so we have all these people that Gatsby really kind of shouldn't have all of this stuff, I mean, people like, where is he getting this stuff from? Page 44. Nick is describing the buffet tables. He says the main hall, a bar with real brass rail stocked with gins and liquors. Why is that important? It's prohibition. The guy shouldn't have all this alcohol. Yet he has a fully stocked bar, okay, with a bunch of alcohol in it. Nick goes on to describe on page 44. By 7 o'clock, the orchestra has arrived. No thin 5-piece affair, but a whole pit full of oboes and trombones. He goes on to describe these swimmers. They've come in from the beach and they start getting dressed for the party. The bar's in full swing. Don't mind that. Distractions. He talks about the women and they never knew each other's names. Okay? So, please, for question number 1, make sure we have all of that wealth noticed about his car, the motorboats, all of these guests that come and stay for the weekend. He mentions 8 servants, the citrus, the alcohol. Okay, these all are signs and symbols of Gatsby's wealth. Question 2, the people that come to the parties. All right, page 45 is where we're going to find this answer. So, you want to imagine the best party ever. Okay, that's Gatsby's party. Okay, everyone comes dressed to the nines. It's free. It's free. You just go and show up. You're like, hey, who wants to go to a raging party? Let's go to Gatsby's. You don't need an invitation. You just go show up. You party like a rock star, drink, eat, and leave when you want. I mean, come on, what more do you want in life, right? So everybody knows about this Gatsby place, and there's always going to be a raging party every weekend. So the types of people that went. Page 45. It says, suddenly one of these gypsies is a trembling opal. All right, so we know that these are random people from off the street. At the end of that paragraph, they talk about her in a burst of chatter as the erroneous news goes around that she is Gilda Gray's understudy from the Follies. The party has begun. So they spot the first movie star. All right, so we got movie stars. We got people from Hollywood, actresses, actors. It said, I was one of the few guests who actually had been invited. And that is Nick telling us. He goes on to say that he was invited by a personal invitation. And that is the answer to number 3, found on the bottom of page 45 to the top of page 46. Nick received a personal invitation from Jay Gatsby to attend the party. Question 2, the other guests never received an invitation. They just showed up and partied like rock stars and had a good time. And they were all like famous people and people of wealth. Roxy agrees. All right. Question 4, how does Nick meet Gatsby? That actually happens a little bit further into the chapter. That's on page 51 to 52. All right, let's find that. The next couple pages are all about people at the party. Nick runs into Jordan. They have a couple conversations with some people at the party. Page 48. Oh, that's the answer to number 5. What are some of the stories about Gatsby? The answer to that are on, the rumors are on page 48. This is where Nick and Jordan are working their way through the party. And some people say that they heard that Gatsby killed a man. Another woman heard that he was a German spy. Another person said that he was in the American Army. Is it our whole army American? At the bottom of 48, it goes on to say, it was a testimony to the romantic speculation he inspired that there were whispers about him from those who had found little that it was necessary to whisper about in this world. Ooh, Gatsby, man of mystery. So a lot of people have rumors about him. Maybe he killed someone. Maybe he was a German spy. They have rumors about perhaps how he got his money. It's very interesting what they think about him. So that is rumors about Gatsby on page 48. And the next question, 6, is Gatsby a phony? All right, you're going to have to decide this. But what this question is really asking you to look at is on page 50. The bottom of page 49 to the top of page 50. There is an interaction with a gentleman in the library in Gatsby's house. His name is Old Owl Eyes, okay? And he is drunk. He is wasted. I mean, he's actually wasted. He even tells Nick and Jordan that he's been drunk for like a week. And the reason why he was sitting in the library was to try to sober up. And he was there with a woman that brought him. It was a Roosevelt. You know, people like to name drop. So what Old Owl Eyes is saying, I came with some rich lady. That's how I got here, all right? And he wants them to know that. And he's like, how did you guys get here? And Nick is like, well, I was invited. Because people don't get invited by Gatsby. That says something right there. But what does Gatsby want from Nick? Okay, so on page 49 to 50, we have Nick and Jordan meeting Old Owl Eyes. And Owl Eyes is amazed that all of the books in Gatsby's library are real. He went through it, opened them, and he's like, nope, they're real. He goes, I ascertained, they're real. Jordan's like, the books? He nodded. Absolutely real. Have pages and everything. I thought they'd be a nice, durable cardboard. Matter of fact, they're absolutely real. Taking our skepticism for granted, he rushed to the bookshelves and returned with volume 1 of the Stoddard Lectures. See? He cried triumphantly. It's a bona fide piece of printed matter. It fooled me. It's Bella's right Belasco. It's a triumph. What thoughtfulness. What realism. Knew when to stop, too. Didn't cut the pages. But what do you want? What do you expect? So Owl Eyes is amazed, okay, that Gatsby has real books. He thought he'd be a fake, a phony, you know, just put him up there for show, make it look like, you know, he read some books, or, hey, I got this library, look at all these great books I've collected. And he thought maybe they would just be fake, but they're real books. Okay, so Nick and Jordan are like, all right. There's a great phrase that is used on page 49, and this is why so many people really like the writing of F. Scott Fitzgerald. He is a master with description and with words. Very eloquent. He describes things. And on page 49 at the end of the first paragraph, where he was talking about Gatsby and all these rumors, and he goes on, he says, instead of rambling, this party had preserved a dignified homogeneity and assumed to itself the function of representing the stad nobility of countryside East Egg, condescending to West Egg, and carefully on guard against its spectroscopic gaiety. Spectroscopic gaiety. Huh. So he's talking about like observing this party. Observing, like, everyone seems like really happy and like having a good time. But unfortunately, there's a lot of underlying currents of perhaps immorality that are happening and occurring. So on the surface, everything seems all fine, good, and dandy, and great. But Nick is noticing that perhaps there's something else going on here. You're a smart man, Nick Carraway. You're a smart man. All right, so keep that in mind with Gatsby, and is he a phony or not? Question number 7. Describe Nick's relationship with Jordan. Okay, that question, this is a long chapter, okay, so it takes a bit to work through this. Is not really found until 63. All right, on page 63, we see Nick describing Jordan Baker in great detail. In fact, he uses a line to say she was incurably dishonest. Huh. All right, so we got this woman who lies, I guess, and Nick hangs out with her. He's kind of like, I guess, like dating her a little bit. It's interesting. By default, I guess, because they both know Tom and Daisy, and but whatever. So they're hanging out a lot at this point, and Nick is like, Jordan's like a whirlwind, I don't really know what to make of her, but I kind of like her, so I'm going to hang out with her. So he continues to, and he goes on to state quite a few negative things about her, but for whatever reason, he's drawn to her. So please read over page 63 and pick up on some things that Nick says about Jordan. I just kind of summarized it for you, but please put that into your own words. And there was one question on here that we still did not have the answer to. Is number 4. How does Nick meet Gatsby? And the answer to that is actually found on page 51 to 52. At the party, he does get to meet Gatsby, and it is totally by chance. So after they come out of that library there with old Owl Eyes, and they're wandering around the party a little bit more, and they run into a couple other party guests and a couple other rumors about Gatsby, and he's just standing there, and kind of Nick is looking out on the party, and then all of a sudden, at a lull in the entertainment, this is on the bottom of 51, the man looked at me and smiled. Your face is familiar, he said politely. Weren't you in the 3rd Division during the war? Why, yes, I was in the 9th Machine Gun Battalion. I was in the 7th Infantry until June 19th, and I knew I'd seen you somewhere before. We talked for a moment about some wet, gray little villages in France. Evidently, he lived in this vicinity, for he told me that he had just bought a hydroplane and was going to try it out in the morning. Want to go with me, old sport? Just near the shore along the Sound. What time? Any time that suits you best. It was on the tip of my tongue to ask his name when Jordan looked around and smiled. Having gay time now, she inquired. Much better. I turned again to my new acquaintance. This is an unusual party for me. I haven't even seen the host. I live over there. I waved my hand at the invisible hedge in the distance, and this man Gatsby sent over his chauffeur with an invitation. For a moment, he looked at me as if he failed to understand. I'm Gatsby, he said suddenly. What? I exclaimed. Oh, I beg your pardon. I thought you knew, old sport. I'm afraid I'm not a very good host. He smiled understandingly, much more than understandingly. It was one of those rare smiles with a quality of eternal reassurance in it that you may come across 4 or 5 times in life. It faded, or seemed to face the whole external world for an instant, and then concentrated on you with an irresistible prejudice in your favor. It understood you, just so far as you wanted to be understood, believed in you as you would like to believe in yourself, and assured you that it had precisely the impression of you that you, at your best, had hoped to convey. Damn, that's a pretty good smile. To have one person smile at you and evoke all of those feelings and emotions, but yet make you feel reassured in yourself and who you are, it's a pretty powerful smile. Let's just say that. So on the bottom of 52 to the top of 53, we see our meeting with Nick and Gatsby. Isn't it interesting, though, how Gatsby said that he knew Nick from the war? What do you think the chances are that they actually ran into each other in France, or that Gatsby had recognized him from an army battalion? I don't know if you guys know anything about army battalions or troops, but they're pretty big. And if you're in another country, I mean, yeah, of course you can meet some people and know them from various other divisions, but the chances that Gatsby knew him or recognized him are very, very slim. So back to that question about him being a phony. I don't know. You're going to have to really kind of decide for yourself on that one. Remember, Nick told us right in chapter 1 that he wanted to believe everything. Gatsby was a symbol of infinite hope. And look at the wording that he uses to describe him. Like, man, he's definitely, I mean, Nick admires him to some degree, or definitely is greatly intrigued about this man named Gatsby. So am I. Let's see what chapter 4 brings. Please finish filling in the chapter 3 study guide for today. I will post one of the questions on Google Classroom for you to answer and respond to get credit for today's lesson. I appreciate you watching. I hope that this helped you understand chapter 3 of The Great Gatsby. And get ready for some stuff for chapter 4 tomorrow. You can actually start reading chapter 4 if you would like to tonight, because the chapters get a little bit long here. Chapter 3 is pretty long, so I know that finish that up. And chapter 4 is, yeah, it starts on page 65 to 85. So we're looking at like 20 pages. And let's see, chapter 4 is going to get serious here. So we just met chapter 1, we could say we met Nick, our narrator. Chapter 2, we went to New York. We met Myrtle. Chapter 3, we had Gatsby's parties described. We learned more about this man named Gatsby. Nick actually gets to meet Gatsby. And in chapter 4, oh man, chapter 4 is really good. We're going to learn about Gatsby and Daisy's past. All right, kids, check in on Google Classroom. I'll see you tomorrow. Miss Fetch, signing out. Hope all is well. Stay healthy. Stay safe.